Hey, it's definitely springtime. But did you know black and brown people across the world are reconnecting to their roots and redefining their relationships to the land by gardening and farming? And Black Gardener Talk is dedicated to sharing those voices to inspire all people of color and maybe even some that don't look like us to grow by any means necessary. But sometimes we just need our own safe space to talk. Good morning, I'm Kamani Anku, and this is Black Gardener Talk. And my guest today is Natasha Whitt. We are so excited to have her here. So let's talk black, y'all, because she's here in the room. And we Saturday morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm tired today, but yeah, I'm waiting for Natasha to pop in. Hey, there she go.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Blessed and highly favored.
Hey, can't beat that, right? Let's jump right in because you here. I like to get started right off the break. What is your first memories of gardening?
Oh, you hit me hard. So, my first memory is with my grandfather, who
Okay.
he's passed, so I'm getting emotional. So I'm like,
Okay.
"Would you hit me hard?"
Oh no.
Uh, um, Special man. He was a man of God, and he was a logger. He also gardened. And the beauty in him is that when he gardened, he gave a lot of his produce away to families in need. So one of my first memories of really playing with the produce is he had some jalapenos on his dresser. Don't ask why, but he had some jalapenos on his dresser. And I remember just playing with them. And then I went to touch my mouth and it was like, ah! And then I don't know why, but I think I rubbed my eyes. But anyhow, back in the days with Pepsi, if you opened up, it was a 10 cents bottle,
Okay.
and you would open it up, and I end up winning a free soda. So,
Oh wow. So
so,
so
but anyhow,
The Pepsi cleared up the hotness of the jalapeno. Is that what you're saying?
it did.
Okay.
And then from that point forward, I would go out and I would help him tend to the cucumbers, and sometimes I would sneak my grandmother's salt shaker and go in the garden and just pull off tomatoes, and I would just eat them like they were apples. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome!" So those are my first memories as a young child
Okay.
on my grandfather's farm,
It
experiencing.
sound like good memories. Was that in Maryland?
That was in Virginia. I'm originally from Gordonsville, Virginia.
Okay.
So, yes, that was a very fond memory of me being very young, 6 years old
Okay.
in Virginia. So, Maryland is a by the way kind of state. So,
Okay.
I'm a transplant.
Okay. So how did you get to Maryland and what made you decide that you're gonna create a farm yourself?
Great question. So, I am one of the rare unicorns in agriculture. So I studied it in high school, obviously from my grandfather. I also studied it in college. I have a degree in plant and soil science from
Okay.
Virginia State University. Um,
the
Shout out,
the
yes. Um, so I actually used my degree and I actually work for the Department of Agriculture. So I am full circle. And then during the pandemic, we lived in Brandywine. My husband and I, we both work for an agency in USDA. And so we started just a backyard garden, and we actually did some terracing, and we were like, you know what, we can't deny it anymore. We have to go back to our roots. He grew tobacco and other commodities, and of course, me with produce. And so we ended up here in Upper Marlboro on a small farmette. We grow on approximately 3/4 of an acre. And it during the pandemic, during COVID, we started growing for subsistence. We were like, you know what, let's just grow so we'd have enough vegetables to put us over through the winter. And then it just morphed. And then we wanted to give back to the community because we knew that kids were lacking the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we were like, what a fun way to have them come out to the farm and experience what it's like to actually pick an ear of corn or pick some tomatoes. And so, hopefully we can help them continue with their educational endeavors through getting their hands, in the soil
Mhm.
and picking a fruit. A tomato is a fruit. Pick a fruit and actually taste it from the farm and how different it is from when you go to the grocery
Oh,
store.
that
So
is amazing. That is a great story, and I'm happy to hear that story because I didn't know. You just popped up on my timeline one day, and I was like, I gotta find out who this person is because I live by Upper Marlboro and who Witt Farms is. So I'm really, really excited to have you here this morning, and all the great things that you're doing. By the way, 3 acres is not small, if you ask me.
I agree, especially when you have two people that are managing it with a full-time job.
Yes.
It is a lot. Um, and just to go on your point, it is not small. Many people think you have to have tens of hundreds of acres to grow quality produce. In 2023, during the pandemic, we were able to donate 3,300 pounds of fresh produce to local food banks here in Prince George's County.
Okay, that's a lot of food. I mean,
It's a lot.
that is a lot. Um, let's talk about some of your first mistakes. Okay, you move to Upper Marlboro, you get this piece of land, it's 3 acres. How are you tilling this? You like what was like your first mistake? Did you think you want to go big? Was it going too big, too small? The wrong type of vegetables you was growing? What was one of your first mistakes?
Well, so there's a couple of things. We first started out just growing for our own need, and so the one mistake was if you're growing for just for your household, smaller is better because you'll end up with more than you can eat and more than you can use, but of course you can donate it and share it with your neighbors. Um, so you don't have to bite off as much as you need. So we kind of we grew our own seedlings, and so we grew, we grew an abundance of tomatoes and cucumbers and whatnot. And at that point, we weren't prepared, if you will, to go donate large scale. We weren't prepared. We didn't even know where to begin to donate. So scaling down, understanding who, if you're just trying to feed your family, you don't need, 100 acre, 100 foot row of zucchini and squash. My God, that is more than,
More
you
than
don't need that.
enough.
You know, you as well as tomatoes. Like, okay, we all love tomatoes. We love pasta sauce. We love salsa. We love the byproducts, even ketchup, down to tomato paste. But then you have to process that. So do
Mhm.
you have time to process all of that? So understanding the scale and the magnitude for what you need,
Yeah.
you don't have to go as big. And so that lends itself to backyard gardening or even patio gardening. A lot of people think, oh, I live in a condo or a townhouse, but that's plenty. If it's just you and your family, that's more than enough to tie you over for the winter. So yes, understanding it's just my husband and I, so understanding we just needed enough to feed ourselves if that was our plan. So we planted way too much.
When
Way.
I hear that story, I always think about me planting these cucumbers in my yard and just planting the whole pack of seeds, not thinking taking a few seeds out, but planting a whole pack of seeds, and then there's 2,000 cucumbers everywhere. It's like, whoa, I can't eat this much. Who I give it to? How do I donate? Where do I donate? Do my neighbors like cucumbers? You know what I'm saying? So that was my thing too. So I feel like we're on the same boat.
Absolutely.
Go
Yeah.
small if you're just growing for your family, and then think about how to upscale if you want to go larger. Let's talk about from first mistakes to your first garden success, like that first farming success where you was like, hey, we did this and we done went down to the farmer's market and we done sold all this stuff. What was it? What was that first success?
Um, I would have to say the children.
Okay.
And I know it sounds odd, but seeing a young person understand where their produce comes from and how it's grown, and that it ends up at the grocery store as a way to market and to have a common place for people to come purchase produce. But to see a young person see it go from a seed to a seedling to a plant that's actually producing, for me, that was a great success because as I'm getting older, I want young people to continue to grow food. For me, when I'm not able to go out there and plant things, I want them to be excited and say, "Oh, you know what? If I can grow something, I can always feed
Yeah.
myself. I can always feed my family." So, um, even watching them grow melons, they were like, "Oh my God, Miss Tasha, it was just a seed, and look at this big watermelon. It's bigger than my head." And so that was um, that was a very pivotal moment where it's like, you know what? I'm making a difference.
Yes. And we both making a difference because I feel the same way. I love teaching the young people. I was a school teacher at one point, and just taking that one seed and then seeing it grow, and they understand it, and then it just tastes so much better. You know what I'm saying? And they understand. And one of the things I always like to preach to them, like, yeah, you're in this garden club or you're in a garden class. That doesn't mean that you become a farmer or you become a gardener. This is just a tool that you can have in your backpack. If you decide to become a farmer and a gardener, hey, it's all icing on the cake and it's a beautiful thing. But this is what we're going to be doing now. So you can learn. You can learn to feed your family in case that next pandemic come, this administration acts the food and all of food go away. You know what I'm saying? Or be right here learning how to grow it on your own. So I big up. Talk a little bit deeper about that. What made you decide to bring kids onto the land and start these classes or workshops?
So I've lived in a few states provided to me by USDA. So I've lived from New Jersey to Georgia, Virginia, of course, and now Maryland. But a lot of times people ask me to speak about agriculture and as a female in agriculture and what has that meant for me. And asking these young folks, so, where do you think this, what do you think this comes from? And they were like, giants, or Safeway, what have you. And I'm like, that's the final destination, but do you know where it's grown or how it's grown and how does it end up on your plate? And they're like, yeah, giants. Mama go gets it, or dad go gets it from the grocery store. So um, wanting them to understand the science, and that's professionally, that's my nature, is it's science. So having them understand the science of Mother Nature and how she works and how she always gives us a means, always, if we just take heed. So it was always, as my grandfather did with me when I was young, he instilled in me the enthusiasm for growing and knowing that I'll never go hungry. I don't even care if you give me a 2 by 2, I will make it work.
That's a
So
beautiful thing. You get me all.
Just
I'm
want to
getting
give
all
back.
teary eyed now. Because it's just such a passion to hear that, and it's just a joy. You're bringing so much joy to the folks. How young are the folks that you bringing to Witt's Farm? How young are they?
Oh my word. So give me just a second. So
Okay.
we grow sweet potatoes, right? And so I was talking, we were partnering with Mocha Moms. Here, there's a chapter in Prince George's County. And so Mike and I were thinking they were, somewhere around 7 to 12 years old. Like, okay, yeah, sure, let's partner with them. Oh my gosh, these babies were like 2 years old, 4 years old. And so, of course, you have to make it fun for children. So we were harvesting. Mike, we have a potato plow, and so he plowed up all the potatoes, and their job was to collect the potatoes. And I was weighing them because one of the games we were playing is who harvested the largest sweet potato.
Okay.
So I've got all these little babies from 2 years old and up. I think that the oldest one we had was 9 years old.
Okay.
So they're picking up this sweet potato, and I'm not lying. They were bigger than their heads, and they were so proud. They were just like, Miss Tasha, weigh mine. How big is it? I'm like, how much do you weigh? I think this weighs more than you. So yeah, so from 2 years old, if they're able to walk, we're able to teach, and
Okay.
we're able to nourish their minds and bodies. So yeah, so very young, yeah, and we had I don't know 15 or so young folks here, and we grilled. We fed them after the harvest and played some games. So
Okay. Good.
we yes, they helped us tremendously with harvesting the sweet potatoes because it is a task.
Okay. Yeah.
So
It is. The first time I tried to grow some sweet potatoes, I was like, okay, I'm a grow. I'm excited about this. And it was literally like 50 pounds of sweet potatoes out of like three sweet potatoes that I planted. And I was like, what in the world I'm gonna do with all these sweet potatoes? It was crazy. So I'm gonna come back, but I wanna, cause I wanna ask you about sweet potatoes and some other things that you're doing with these sweet potatoes and tomatoes. But this is an annual event that you do every year with the kids and sweet potatoes.
yes, last year was our first. It went over so well with Mocha Moms that we're going to probably try to partner with other organizations and have them come out. We even have a background for them. Mike created this huge pumpkin cutout so they can take their pictures and do
Okay.
the
Okay.
Instagram and all that great stuff. Yeah, it's a few hours on typically it's on a Sunday, and they come out after church and they harvest and it, I think we harvested around 5,000 pounds
Oh
this
wow,
year.
that's crazy.
It was
That's
a
a lot.
I was like, again, what was one of the lessons you learned? Do we need to plant that many slips?
But that is amazing because you can feed the community, you can feed you can feed the world.
We
At that
did.
point, yeah. Um, what advice would you give somebody who wants to follow in Tasha's footsteps? At one point, you was a new gardener farmer. Now you established. I would say you are established. What advice would you give someone who want to follow you?
So I would say first chart your own path because every land layout is different. Every situation is different, so make that situation conform to what you need it to. Start small. Understand that farming, gardening, whatever you want to call it, every year, if you get tired of routine, come over to the gardening world because there'll never be one year where it'll be the same year after year after year. So don't get frustrated. There's many natural factors you have to figure in, from irrigation to watering to the sun to too much rain. Too much rain on watermelons will give you really big watermelons, but they'll be tasteless. And believe me, the public will let you know. So,
Yes.
um, it takes patience, it takes time. Don't go big, go small, work your way up. You don't have to have a tractor. You don't have to have all these implements. If you've got these digits, um, some basic tools, like a, a hoe, a mat axe, small things you can get at Home Depot. Find them on
Mhm.
Facebook Marketplace. You don't have to have brand new shiny tools. You can borrow tools.
Okay.
Um, Start small. Start really small. See if this is what you really like. And then you know what? Hopefully God will bless us with another year and you can grow bigger and you can grow bigger. And then you know what? You may find yourself at Eco City Farms and having your own block of land to start farming if you want to grow into production mode.
Okay.
But have fun.
Have fun. I will leave it right there on that part of good advice. Have fun because, like you said, each year is a different year. It's not going to be the same. And so, if you want to move into something fun, and changes all the time, get into a farm, get into a garden, and do it because it is. Chica Farm, she said I did the opposite. I started big and just keeps getting bigger.
It will get away from you.
Yes.
Every year. So here's another thing I would challenge people that are starting out. Pick something unusual and use that as your reward. So like for instance, last year I did loofah.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna reward myself for growing loofah. Well, Lord knows I didn't know loofah got so expansive. We ended up using cattle panel to prop it up. We came home one day and the cattle panel had collapsed. It was so heavy. There were so many loofahs on it. And so it was fascinating. They have the most beautiful blooms, but it was so
Hmm.
fascinating to see. So treat yourself just as you would if you got a promotion on a job or lost weight and you treat yourself to a nice new outfit. Every year, treat yourself to grow something outside of your normal box.
Yes. Whether you eat it or not. Because I did the loofah too, and I was disappointed at first because I didn't see anything, but I saw all these vining things all over the place, and I was like, I guess those was a dud. I'm not going to order those seeds no more from that company. And then one day I came out, it was a million loofahs it seemed out there, and then a million seeds. It's like, what do I do with all of this? So yeah, I would say try something different. Also, I grew a dragon fruit, and so they were like, "Well, it's never gonna bloom in the house, so you might as well take it outside." So I had it outside in a pot. It got really big. It did produce two dragon fruits, and then I was like, "It's gonna die in the wintertime. I gotta get it in the house." So I tried to get it in the house, and I finally made it in the house. It got sticker bars and everything on it. Got it to my yoga room, and it fell on the ground, and I left it right there.
I feel you. Yeah,
So
yeah.
Natasha, yeah, it's crazy. Um, I think can you still hear me? Because it's a little going in and out a
Yeah,
little bit.
I think
Um,
we had a little flicker here.
okay, cool.
So
Not
am
a
I back up?
problem.
Okay.
Yeah, you back up. Let's talk about this canning thing because this is how I feel like Witt Farms fits in this whole world in Maryland with all these different farmers growing different things. I feel like your value added product is those canned goods. Let's get into canned goods now. Let's talk about it because I mean I'm doing a little bit of tomato sauce because I grew all those tomatoes as well, like you said. Let's talk about this canned good because you can taste the flavors of your farm all year round and all these canned foods that you got coming. Let's talk
Well,
about
thank you. Yeah,
it.
that is that has so one of the questions we talked about yesterday briefly was sustainability.
Yes.
Um, how does Woods Farm sustain themselves? And one of the things that I'm a self-taught canner. So the first year that we were growing, remember you were like, what was one of the things that you would, you know, change if you could do it all over again? I'm like, grow smaller. Well, my mother-in-law, she said, "Oh, okay, Tasha, where you're growing, what are you going to do with all the stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I ain't got with so much freezer space." She was like, "Ding, ding, ding. I'm gifting you a Presto 23 digital pressure canner. Here's your jars. Here's some books. Um, have fun." I'm like, pressure cannon, scary. Um, you know, if people's, knew someone that pressure can, my older sister, she didn't understand how to depressurize, and she was trying to rush it. And my mom was like, "Slow down, it'll come down to pressure." And she was like, "Well, I need it now." And she took that, she unscrewed it, and it shot up in the ceiling. Lord, I thought it was going to blow a hole right through the ceiling. So
Wow.
that is one of my distant memories of pressure canning. So I was terrified at first. I was like, I don't want to blow a hole through my ceiling. So I went to the University of YouTube,
Very good.
and yeah, and I learned. So most people learn how to water bath first because it's safe, it's easy. No, not your girl. She went hard with it. She went pressure canning first.
Okay.
And so so interesting enough, so some of the byproducts that we have here, I don't know if you can see it, but this is like a hot salsa. So these
Okay.
are made with our tomatoes, our jalapenos, our green peppers. So this is one of the byproducts that we make here at Witt's Farm.
Okay.
Um, Another one that we make here is zucchini relish. So you're like, my God, what do you do with all those zucchinis? And
Okay.
sometimes zucchinis are funny. They'll play hide and go seek on you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, wait, I just went out and I saw that zucchini and it was like this small. How did it get this big?
Okay.
And so you try to figure out what to do with the byproducts because they're still edible, but you have to figure out a way to use them and be smart.
Okay.
So this is a relish that we make. It takes me 2 days to make.
Wow.
It's really good. Tastes nothing like what you find in a grocery store.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell me a little bit about it. What's the process? You chopping it up? You cooking it first? How are we canning it? Are we canning it uncooked? What's some of the season? You don't gotta tell us all the secrets, but what's some of the ingredients?
so so the 2 day process is the first day I'm shredding all of this all of the zucchini, the onions, um, bell peppers. So those things actually sit underwater in the refrigerator, marinating with a lot of canning salt to
Okay.
pure out to take away a lot of the moisture. And then I have to, the second day, I'm straining it. And the easiest way to make a really good relish and take the water out after you've rinsed off all the salt is a salad spinner. Believe
Okay.
it, instead of you sitting there trying to like squeeze everything, put it in a salad spinner and it'll be dry and it'll be so great. Um, and then you add a ton of it has a lot of sugar, apple cider vinegar. This one has turmeric and other seasonings, but yeah, I cook it in a big pot and heat it up. And then I sterilize the jars and the lids. This happens to be a one piece.
Okay.
Typically, they're two piece, but if you water bath, you can just use one
Okay.
piece. And then I water bath can it,
Okay.
fill it, water bath can it for 10 minutes because it is considered a relish, so it's high acidic. So I don't have to pressure can it.
Okay.
Um, but if I was doing like meats or potatoes or carrots, things that are low acid, then I would have to pull out the pressure canner, which
With
is
that being said, say we did carrots. But we added a lot of lemon juice, a lot of salt. Will we still have to do the pressure canning opposed to the water bath?
So I have a pH meter, and that's something that any good canner will probably want to invest in. They're not that expensive, like 20
Okay.
bucks. And we would test for the pH level to see if there's enough acid in the carrots, because at that point, it's almost like we're making pickled carrots.
Okay.
So um, if the acidity is low enough, then we can water bath it safely. 4.6 or lower, we can water bath it. Otherwise, we will need to pressure can it because the acidity is not great enough in the jar for
Okay.
preservation.
So I learned something new today, just now, because I'm always doing the pickled carrots. So I guess with the pressure, it's not really so much carrot. I mean, pickled. It's just you're preserving the carrots, and then you can probably take them out, put them in a stew, put them in a soup or something. Whereas the pickled water bath one, they're just like a pickle. So thank you
Mhm.
for that.
You're welcome. So yeah,
It's
this
my
is
Instagram at university.
so yeah.
and what?
We do a lot. I mean, I have pickles
Okay.
here that so yeah, and then the other thing that we make a lot of that we'll take to many of the markets is I make one third less sugar jams and jellies.
Okay.
So for those that are diabetic, you can still have your jams and jellies that won't spike your blood sugar.
Okay. It sounds like I need to come to one of the markets or come down to the farm and get me a whole bunch of stuff because it sounds amazing.
Come on through.
And so, where can we find your products? Are your products online? Do you have an Etsy shop? Do you have Instagram that we can order? You have your website yet? Well, how can we order some of these value added canned goods from which farms?
Well, thank you for asking. So, yeah, we are available by appointment right now. We at our farm, we're at 15650. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Candy Hill Road in Upper Marlboro. Of course, my husband and I are both back in the office Monday through Friday. So,
Okay.
by appointment, and then over the weekends, just hit me up on Witt's Farm and hey Tasha, I want to come and I have plenty of samples for you to try. Um, One of our biggest sellers, and for those that know me, it's the cowboy candy,
Okay.
and it is a sweet. It's a candied
Oh.
jalapeno, so it's really good.
Mm.
I have yet to meet anyone that hasn't liked it.
Okay. That's
So,
the one I want to try. I love some jalapenos.
oh, this is our best seller. So I can't. We grow jalapenos just for this.
Okay. That sounds amazing. So, my next question is from canning to farming to going back to work, the pandemic, all this stuff, growing food, sweet potatoes, kids coming on a farm. How has gardening changed you since you first started?
So this year will be a prototype. Um, Last year we worked early. We actually went out and did our gardening early in the morning before the sun came up. And then we went back again in the evening. This time, this is a prototype year. As I said, farming changes every year. So um, we are going with the flow to see how we can manage both work and farming at the same time. We are adjusting our schedules so that we can utilize the afternoon. Right now, I'm at work at 6:15 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's long days for us to be able to get back home and utilize the sunlight. And we'll be growing in a lot of textile fabric to control the weeds because, again, I'm not home a lot to pull the weeds.
Okay.
So we'll be
Break
growing
that
in a lot
down.
of
Break that down for the people that might be listening or watching. The textile. fabrics,
Mhm.
using that as a
A
method
weed
of
barrier.
growing, yeah, growing food. Talk about that a little bit, because I had a chance to go to Uganda 3 years ago, and we did something like that. But we grew in rice bags or potato sacks, but that was kind of like a barrier too. So break it down a little bit for the people.
Right. So one of the back-breaking things about gardening or growing produce is battling the weeds. Let's just be honest. If I could sell crabgrass, I'd be
You'll be
rich.
rich, right? You'll be a millionaire.
Absolutely. But I can't. So to combat those weeds that come up, we use the textile fabric. You lay it down. It's black. You can get it in white, but black seems to work best. And so it controls. It's a fabric that you lay down
Okay.
first, and then we just use a blowtorch, a handheld one, and we burn the fabric so that we can plant our seedling in it. And so the seedling, just grows from the textile underneath the textile. So there's no weeding, you don't have to
Oh,
weed anymore.
wow.
Um, and we grew our tomatoes in that last year, as well as our cucumbers. Oh my God, it was amazing. It really helped with tomato blight. It in blossom end rot. It really helped with that. Pruning tomatoes, even though people don't like to do it, if anybody's growing tomatoes this year, prune them. You need a lot of aeration.
Okay.
Um, you Foliage, not so much, but you need to prune your tomatoes so you could get a lot of air. That then reduces a lot of um, mold. It just needs airflow. So by the time I'm finished pruning my tomatoes, it looks like it's on its last leg, but I need that.
That's amazing. Let's talk about, you said real quickly, that blowtorch, that handheld blowtorch. Is it hooked up to a propane tank?
So it's a mini propane tank. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, and it's just a handheld one. And we we have a bit on our end of ours because Mike's a woodworker, so we just use a bit, and it's almost like branding. We just burn it enough for a small hole for the seeding, not too big, because again, the more sunlight that's exposed in that hole, the more weeds you're going to
Okay.
compete with.
Because I had one, and I did it once, only once, and it scared the hell out of me. Because when I turned it on and I turned that propane tank, it sounded like a jet was coming through the
Oh
area.
yeah,
And I mean, it worked really great, but I was like, oh, I'm not doing this again. So
yeah,
I feel
it's
like I
really
wasted my
quick.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like 15 seconds. It's like
Hmm.
that's it. Any longer, you're gonna burn up the fabric. You will burn it up.
I think I burnt up everything. 'Cause I didn't know what I was doing. I saw somebody online had one, so I was like, I'm gonna get one, and the price was right on Amazon, and so I got it. And then yeah, I tried to do something. I burnt up a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Well, you're welcome to come over and we can give you a hands-on
Okay.
tutorial of how to use it. After we finish up here, I'm headed out to plant our broccoli and our cabbage, and then we'll plant carrots and beets. So
Okay. Oh, I love beets.
we'll be laying down. I'll try to do a video of it
Okay.
so people can see. But we'll
Yeah.
be laying down the textile for that. So we don't have to spend as much time
Weeding.
weeding as we would,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cause
harvesting.
you back at work now. We all back at work, right?
It's a battle. It
Yeah,
is a
it's a
battle.
battle, and it's gonna come in. It's gonna come out, and it's gonna be in our favor. I know it is. It gotta come back into our favor at some point in time. It just got to. But speaking of all the things that you're about to get ready to plant and laying down the textile fabric and stuff, what is the hardest plant you ever try to grow, or did you ever have a hard plant?
Corn is hard. We grew it, but um, We tried to grow it organically.
Hmm.
No, no, no. Oh, no. No. So in selling it to the public, so with growing corn organically, you
Hmm.
have to spray the tassel every time it rains and sometimes every day. And I'm talking about with like a neem oil.
Okay.
Um, but the battle is not yours. It is with the Lord. It is hard. You'll feel the ear and you're like, oh, this ear is solid. It has all the kernels. It's beautiful. As soon as you pull back that tassel, you have a friend say, hey, you forgot to spray me. I'm just chilling. I'm good. I'm good over here.
Okay.
Um, it is hard. So I know everybody wants a perfect ear. Everybody wants a perfect ear, and that is probably the most challenging thing with growing produce. Is the ideology of perfection.
Yeah.
If that was the one takeaway, have some for our viewers and for those that don't even grow, they are just watching on an educational. Have some mercy for us. It is we are trying. First of all, it costs too much to buy pesticides and herbicides. It is expensive. So believe me and you, I'm not spraying any more than I have to.
Okay.
I can't afford it. Um, there are going to be some times when that tomato takes on its own shape. Doesn't
Yes.
mean that the quality or the taste of the tomato is not stellar. It is. It just decided to take its own form.
Yes.
I can't control that.
And I think on that note, not to cut you off because I know you're a mid thought, but I feel like that's where I feel like some people miss the point. When we go in the grocery store, we see these perfectly round tomatoes or these ruby red strawberries, and then you go to a farmer's market, like you said, them tomatoes lopsided. They look like a heart, look like a all kinds of different things. The strawberry is not as red as they see in the grocery store, and they get disappointed. And I one time I was working a farmer's market and I got in an argument with the person, the farmer, well not the farmer, the customer, because she was like, they don't look like the grocery store. Like, this is not the grocery store. You can talk to this farmer right here, and that farmer can tell you how they grew it, why they grew it, what type of soil. I was like, do you know what you get from the grocery store? And she was kind of like dumbfounded. Still ended up walking away with not buying the tomatoes, which was her bad. You know what I'm saying? I was like, go get those pesticide tomatoes, those dyed strawberries, those injected red tomatoes, and enjoy yourself. Don't come back 5 years later talking about, oh, I need help. I need all organic. You know.
And to dispel a little bit about organic, there is still a threshold that organic farmers can still use um, commercial pesticides and herbicides. So
Hmm.
there's a threshold. So please don't get it confused and thinking that they are eliminated from using any of it. They still can use it, but it is a threshold, a BT threshold that they
Hmm.
have to abide by, but they still can use it. So if you're thinking everything is out there, it's perfect and nobody has 24 hours of the day to be out there picking and weeding.
No.
So there is a threshold that they are allowed to use commercial.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I mean a lot of these tomatoes people are getting, they have gas.
Gas.
That's how they get. They pick them green and then they put them in the gas chamber and they turn red. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying some. Put that
Yeah,
caveat
we don't want
out
to.
there.
Well, yeah, that is very true, and that's one of the reasons maybe why I did never like tomatoes in the beginning until I started growing my own tomatoes. Because like when I started, I was hesitant even growing tomatoes, but my mom and family members wanted tomatoes, so I was like, let me grow them, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna taste them, and it was like, oh my god, I have not bought a tomato from the grocery store, in 10 years probably. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's different. So have a little
Yeah.
mercy, if you
Yes.
will.
Have mercy.
Just have a little
Yeah, have mercy.
mercy.
where do you get your seeds from? Let's talk about that because we're talking about tomatoes and how they gas them. I think they dye the strawberries red too because you buy a thing of strawberries at the grocery store, they so ruby red, but when you taste them, it tastes god awful. You know what I'm
It's
saying? I grow my own in the back.
gas.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So where do you get your seeds from?
Um, I mean, you can go as far as just, Home Depot has, seeds. I don't have a loyal place, if you will, that I purchase seeds from. So it's not so much about the seed as it is about the soil
Okay.
amendments and the soil medium that you use.
We'll talk
It's
about it. Let's talk about that because you're a scientist. Let's talk about that soil. You work for the agricultural department and you specialize in soil. Let's talk about that too. What do we need to be doing with our soil?
so so they're twofold. So one is if you're, container growing. So if you're growing in a 5-gallon bucket or a grow bag, as opposed to just growing directly in the soil. So if you're growing in a grow bag, you want to make sure that the soil is, a lot of times they'll have a lot of pine bark in the
Okay.
soil. And so just think about a little tiny seed trying to push through, if you will, and this is trying to push through this hard bark.
Okay.
It's almost impossible. And then you're wondering, well, Dad, these seeds aren't any good. No, that's not necessarily true. It was the soil medium that you used because it was full of inert, which is trash, not really
Mm-hmm.
soil. So you'll have pine bark. You may have, wood chippings in it. And so all those things are like, a rose trying to push through concrete. It becomes very, very difficult. So a lot of the times when you go to big box stores, you'll have to read on the back the inert matter, which is trash, not really
Mm-hmm.
soil. And it'll say, a lot of wood chippings, pine bark, um, clay is fine, but it's really that junk that you don't really want that makes it difficult for that little teeny seed to push through. So you
Okay.
want more of a fine soil. You want some vermiculite in there. Um, you want different growing mediums in there that helps make that seed grow.
Okay.
You want to fertilize. So that's what I would use if I needed to grow in a grow bag.
Okay.
It's the same way when we grow direct seed to soil.
Okay.
We'll fertilize. Actually, we get a lot of our fertilizer we go down to St. Mary's
Okay.
County by the Amish and Pineview. It's actually called Pineview Grocery.
Okay.
And we get a lot of our like our tomato fertilizer and we chemigate. So there's a little container. Think of it like going to I'm sorry, IHOPs, and when you pour the syrup.
Okay.
So it looks like that little contraption, but you hook it to your hose, and so when you're spraying and irrigating, it's feeding through that fertilizer while you're irrigating. So it's called chemigate,
Okay.
chemically
I'm
irrigate.
lear- I'm learning. I'm writing notes. I got my pen and my paper. My question: should we be changing our soil out every year?
Yes,
So, I mean, we should be changing
yes.
it out. And what do we do with the old soil?
So you can also sterilize your soil.
Okay.
So if you have like an old cookie sheet, you can bake your soil at like 175 degrees for a couple of hours, and that actually kills everything that's in that soil. And you could do that with your house plants too. So it's not really just your grow
Okay.
bags, but if you're not wanting to spend the electricity, which I understand electricity is, is at all-time cost right
Hmm.
now. Um,
Tell me about it.
it is at an all-time high, so I recognize that. Unfortunately, yeah, you're going to need to change. um, the soil and wash the bags.
Okay.
Wash the bags with a bleach and water solution. Because believe it or not, those grow bags still are fabric. So a lot of spores and mold and stuff can grow in between
Okay.
those that fabric. So find you a bin, a plastic bin, do your bleach water solution, you know, submerge them in
Mhm.
that solution and then hang dry them.
Could we compost the old soil?
Yeah, certainly. Certainly you can compost if you got a flower bed outside, or around your azaleas or whatever you planted outside. Yeah, certainly use that soil to fill up your soil, your beds.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, even if you wanted, you had to plant like daffodils in a grow bag, they're fine.
Okay.
Um, you just you just want to change out things that you're eating.
Okay.
So if it's for human consumption, you want to change it out. And it's the same way if you're planting direct seed to soil. You do not want to plant this year where you're planting last year. You don't want to plant this year where you planted last year.
Mhm.
So I've had people come here and like, oh, I'm going to tomatoes, and I'm like, oh, the tomatoes are up there this year, and they're like, well, they were down there last year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you have to constantly rotate. Believe me, we put up cattle panels, and that's what holds up that's what trellises our tomatoes, that's what trellises our cucumbers, and those things are heavy because then we put them up with 6 foot T-posts.
Okay.
So it's not easy. Those things are heavy, it's laborious, um, but I have to change. Every year
Okay.
I have to change. I can't plant anything the same place I planted last year.
That means, folks, you got to get you either a mic or you got to get you a Natasha to help you on your farm.
We do as
Natasha,
best we'll try as much as we can.
yeah, Natasha, do you offer any volunteer services? You talking about moving these cattle panel things, different places to grow your tomatoes? Do you offer any volunteer opportunities for folks to come out to help you do all that type of work?
Thank you for asking. Yes, we would love, especially if you're trying to learn how to grow and you're just like, I don't even know where to begin. Begin at Witt's Farms.
Okay.
You can learn and you can also, we do a bartering system for your time, you know, take home some vegetables. If
Okay.
we've
Cool. I
got
like
extra
that.
plants, take home some plants and grow them in your own grow bags. So we are very kind. We're very generous. We understand your time is precious, as and to come over here is precious. So when we start into production mode, hey, get you some tomatoes,
Mhm.
get you some cucumbers, get you some squash. So we want to make sure that you feel like it's just not a one-sided volunteer, that you are getting
Something
something
out
too.
of that. Okay, cool. Got a couple more questions before the 12 noon strike. But do you have a favorite trick or tip that you have learned along the ways since you've been gardening and farming?
Uh,
Besides
favorite
growing small.
growing small. Um, I'll have to take a picture of what we trellis our tomatoes
Okay.
with. And instead of using a twine, we have these little clips, and you can use them. It's a good investment. They're really cheap. But you can trellis them, your tomatoes, anything that needs trellising, and you can use them for years to come. And they're really cheap, and they're really easy. And at the end of the season, when you're finished, you just unclip them apart and stow them away.
Okay. Do they
So
look like
trellising,
the little, I guess the clips like you can separate your hair with? Sometimes it looks like the, I think they call
looks
garden
like
clips or something like, I think like the $1.25 store has something like that. I think I used something like that before. That is a good tip. So get you some garden clips, going, with farms Instagram. Maybe she'll post some clips for the folks up there. Then the next question I have, this is a really good question. and everybody loves this. Is there a place on the farm where you like to just go and just chill out, relax, maybe read a book, maybe take a snooze? Is it a favorite place on the farm you like to go to?
The greenhouse.
Okay.
In the dead of winter, it is the warmest place you ever want to be.
Okay. Well,
So,
greenhouse
yeah.
folks. It's
Oh,
almost lunchtime. Oh, go ahead.
I just want real quick. I want to talk about growing. It's just 30 seconds. For
Yeah.
those that are growing their own seedlings, the tip I can share with folks, and this is a very valuable tip, is using grow mats instead of grow lights.
Okay.
Grow mats will give you a stronger root, faster germination, and not leggy.
Okay. Cool.
And they're just as cheap.
Just as cheap. The big box stores have them. I work at a big box store.
We
On
got
the
the
weekends.
Amazon.
Yeah,
So
Amazon. If you still shop at
it,
Amazon, we know.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not supporting it. Just look up grow
yeah.
mats.
It is. Look, grow mats. Um, that's a good one too because I love you do get that early faster germination with the grow mats. I have a few here, but it's almost lunchtime, and so I like to eat. If I was coming down to Witt's Farm right now and after this call because it's lunchtime, what are you cooking me? What are you fixing me from the garden? Are we starting off with a jalapeno relish on a nice piece of toasted sourdough bread? What are you making from the farm for me?
I think we'd have a light lunch because we got some planting to do, remember? So
Okay.
I'd make you a good charcuterie board.
Okay. Cool.
So
And what will
we've
be
got a
on it?
lot of relishes, we've got some pickles, we've got salsa.
Okay.
Um, and if you're still hungry, I'll make you some pasta
Okay.
with some spaghetti sauce on
Okay.
top.
Cool. Ooh, that sounds good. I'm hungry now. And then my last and final question. What are your future plans for the farm? Get into it. You got 4 minutes. You can talk the entire 4 minutes. What are your future plans for the farm?
Future plans is to start teaching more canning classes so people can become more subsistence and rely on their own pantry instead of the grocery store, thus reducing their sodium intake, their sugar intake, just controlling what they put in their bodies. And getting our product in the store.
Okay, that sounds good. I heard you early on. You mentioned Mike, your husband, was a carpenter. Do you think you will do some workshops around building more shelving for these canned goods? Because I think that could be something that you can work in, and because when COVID happened, that's when I learned how to can, and I didn't even have the space, and so I actually revamped my kitchen and put up a whole bunch of shelving so I can put jars and more jars and more jars and more jars up there.
Yeah, he's built us quite a few jars. He is actually building us now. So one of the places we're at is the Hidden Gem, and I'll put that in the chat. We're there from May to November,
Okay.
where we'll bring out our canned goods and our jams and jellies. And so he's now building us a permanent, semi-permanent farm stand. So we don't
Okay.
have to worry about taking tables, tents, and all that. We could just bring our product and our produce and set up. So
Okay.
so yeah, we yeah. At one point, it looked like I had Costco's in my kitchen, so I
Okay.
had so many
So
cars.
yeah, I would encourage you to get him to like maybe teach people how to build like some smaller like shelf space type things. That could lead to more financial sustainability for Witt's Farm. I believe it because I know if I knew Mike back then, Mike would have did my kitchen instead of me trying to do it.
Yeah, he's
Had some
really
shelves
good.
hanging upside down, sideways, but it worked for me.
Well, we're still
Natasha
here
has,
to help.
yeah, Natasha, it has been an absolutely pleasure having you on this morning. The joy, I mean, you bring me so much joy. Check your inbox because I'm going to invite you to something and hopefully you can make it. But folks, Natasha's a joy. Go follow her at Witt's Farms on Instagram. Go Google her. Go take some of her classes for the canning this year. Go to the Sweet Potato Festival thing. I'm calling it a festival, kids festival. I'm definitely want to work with you on that and bringing some kids out to create some stuff. I'm actually drinking pear and sweet potato juice. So I juiced the sweet potatoes and some pears together because that's what my job had this week. And so it tastes really, really good with a little bit of cinnamon in it. But any last parting words for you, Natasha?
Today is going to be beautiful. Enjoy it and plant something.
Cool. Plant something. On that note, I like to leave you with live your life healthy, free from negativity. And as always, Black folks, you guys stay dope. All right? Peace.
Thanks, everyone.